for today's lesson. Today we're going to be learning about how to use Cami and how to use a PDF document created by the Learning Genie called the LATTICE. So when you purchase the actual document from Teachers Pay Teachers, and you have downloaded it to your computer or to your Google Drive or to your OneDrive, then you can simply, if you have Cami as the extension, you can simply hit Cami and then this page will open up. Now, if you haven't created Cami as an extension on your Google platform, then you should. So to begin, I'm going to my computer and I'm going to click on the PDF and open. Now, I did this earlier today, but I want you to see this because I want you to know that you need to make a new copy so that you don't have to erase what was on the old copy or always keep getting the same copy that you used before. Now, once it's uploaded, now it's uploaded into your Cami drive for you to use whenever. So what you'll do is you'll want to zoom out like so. Now, this is great for working with small groups, individual groups, if you want a paperless classroom, if you are a tutor or a homeschool teacher. This is one way that you can teach in a digital format. So here we go. You can use this particular document to multiply 3 by 2 whole numbers and 3 by 2 decimals. We're going to start with decimals because there's only one difference with using the lattice when you're multiplying whole numbers and decimals. So that's why I'm going to start out with the most challenging one first, because if you can do the most challenging one, then the least challenging one is even easier. Let's begin. We're going to start out by using our annotation tools, and most people by now, if you're in distance learning, you should be familiar with Cami, and if you are not, then pay attention. It's a great resource. You'll hit the text box. Now, once you hit the text box and you're in this mode, you will be in this mode until you change it. So whatever you would like, or whatever color you'd like your text to be, it would be easier to select it ahead of time. You do have a palette which consists of these colors. My palette has these colors because these are the ones that I primarily use. You can create another color and then add it to the palette as well, but you will only have these 9 colors in the palette. So one palette will be replaced if you choose to select a different color than what is within this palette. Okay? All right. Now with that being said, let's continue. I'm choosing 16 font because on this document, it pretty much will fit everywhere, even inside of the little boxes, which I will explain later. So the first multiplicand or factor that we're going to use is 46. I think I want it a little bit bigger. I'm going to go to 30. So 46 and 3/10. Now, if I want to, I could take this and stretch it all the way across so that I don't have to redo this, which for me is the easier one instead of redoing a text box. Okay, so 43 and 46 and 3/10 times 2 and 7/10, and that is going to equal the product that we don't know. as of yet. When you're multiplying and the pieces of the number sentence, this part is the expression. The multiplicand, the factor, and the multiplier, factor 2, that is the expression. But the whole entire number sentence or equation consists of the factors, both factors, and the product. So now that we have that in place, we're not doing any estimation as of right now. We're just simply talking about how to use the lattice. The other lesson will have the one that includes the estimation ahead of time. So now we're going to take this information and input it into the lattice, into the grid. We will start with going back to the text box. I can keep it at 30 for now. And we will start with inputting each digit onto the top row from the first multiplicand. So, like I said, you can start by just putting and opening up and then spacing. To me, it's easier that way instead of doing a full-on text box again for each one. You could, but you don't have to. Now, when it comes to putting the multiplier down this way, because it's 2-digit, now if the multiplicand was 2-digit and the multiplier was 3-digit, I would just switch which side I would put the numbers on. Okay, so here we're going to go down. And I know you're asking me, well, what about the decimal? We'll get to that in a minute. All right, so now that we have our multiplicand and our factor 2, the multiplier, in place on the outside of the lattice grid. And it's almost like an area model if you're familiar with an area model. Okay? So now, once you do that, the Learning Genie method is the way we 3D the method. And we always do it because we do this with color. And we'll do that in just a second. So now we're going to place our decimal. And the way we do that is placing and going to the drawing tool. We put it at 4, and the reason why we do this for the stroke thickness is so that we can input and just do this for the decimal. Now, if you want it to be a little larger, you can go to a stroke thickness of maybe 6. And there you go. Now, there's our decimal. So, if you want to move it back and put it on the line a little bit more or closer to the line, then you do so. With me, it does not have to be perfection, long as it's there. Okay? So now we're going to go back to the text, not to the text box, excuse me. We're going to go back to the markup because we, with the Learning Genie, like to use brain research and color coding theory. And so therefore we have color coded how we use the lattice. So with the first part, with our factors and our multiplicand and our multiplier, we would like to color code those green. So we use the markup box highlighter and go to the green. Like so. We'll do the same thing, staying in that mode and coming over here. You do not have to highlight the decimal as well. If you want to, you can go back and do that if that's a huge part of you. And that's it. Now, let's begin the multiplication. I know you're like, well, how will I get my answer for this? And what am I going to do with the decimals? And what's going to take place with that? Well, here we go. I want you to think about your multiplication facts. Okay, so your multiplication facts are 0 through 12, like 1 times 2, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 8. Those are your multiplication facts. Okay? So now that we're in the zone, let's start thinking and getting critical. So the only thing you really need to know with the lattice is how to multiply using your multiplication facts, your basic multiplication facts, and how to add with regrouping. If you know how to do that, you're good. So here we go. You're going to start with this first row right here. And you're going to use these two digits, the 2 and the 3, to multiply. So you're multiplying the 2 in this cell times the 3 in this cell. So 2 times 3 is 6, but you're not going to put just 6. You have to put 0, 6, because the cells are going by the tens and the ones digits. So let's see how that works so you can understand what I'm saying. Zero, 6. Okay? These are the tens, these are the ones, if the number was a 2-digit number. And so because the cells are in the form of 2 digits, we have to put a 0 if our product of our multiplication fact is a single digit. Now, if it's a 2-digit like this one, we'll keep going across this row. 2 times 6 is 12. So it's 2 digits. 1, 1, and then the 2 for the 12. Are you following me? Now, we'll continue across this row to complete this next cell. The 2 times the 4. 2 times 4 is 8. That's a single digit number like 6. So we're going to put 0, 8. Now we're going to do the same thing with the next row. But before we do that, I like to color code. And so for this row, it's going to be blue. So make sure you go to Markup, make sure you're in Box Highlighter, and click the color blue. All of this will make sense later. Go back to your text box, and then we will now start to multiply 7 times the 3. So now 7 times 3 will give us what? 21. If you did not say that within 3 seconds, that means you really don't know your multiplications to automaticity, which makes this process faster. If you don't, you still can figure that out, but it will just prolong the process. So 7 times 3 is 21, 2-digit number, 2, 1. Let's continue. 7 times 6, 42, 4, 2. Now 7 times 4, 28, 2, 8. So now we have our next row. This cell is for 7 times 3. This cell is for 7 times 6 or 6 times 7. And this cell is for 7 times 4. Now, if you have trouble figuring out 7 times 6, I'm sure you know 7 times 5 is 35. You just count up 6 more. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, excuse me. And that's how you get 7 times 6. So as we continue, I bet you're wondering, what color are we going to do this row? For this row, we'll go back to markup, and we're going to mark this row up orange. All right. We'll go back to checkbox because now here's where your addition comes in. Now that we have put all of these products, these partial small products in these cells, we're now going to add diagonally. Now the key about this is that you're not going to add anything outside of this particular cell for the first diagonal row. You never will. That is why there is not a box over here. And the key reason why I color coded this outside is because when it's time to add, you are not going to add anything or use any of the digits in green outside of the grid, the inside of the grid. So if we stay in that thought process, 1 plus nothing or 1 plus 0, you're just bringing the 1 out. So therefore, you will put a 1. Now, you'll go to the next cell. Remember, you're not touching the green. You're only working with the blue and the orange. So focus on the blue and the orange. 6 plus 2 plus 2, what does that equal? It does equal 10, but you're not going to put the whole 10 just like that. Just like in regular addition regrouping, you're going to regroup. So that 0 will stay there, but that 1, now you see why the regrouping box is here. That 1 will go there. Okay? So now we're going to continue. Remember, we're not bothering the numbers outside the cells or the diagonal addition rows. I'm pausing because there's an airplane flying by. Now let's continue. 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. Over here, we made doubles, or you could have made 10. Those are the first 2 types of thinking that you would like to have when you're adding. Can you make doubles? Can you make 10? Can you make 10? Can you make doubles? That's what you want to first think about. And I was able to make 10 and doubles over here, so I could have used either one of those processes. Over here, can I make 10? Yes. Where? Right, the 8 plus the 2. Can I make doubles? No. So I'll take the 8 plus the 2 to make 10, and I know 4 plus 1 is 5, and 10 plus 5 is 15. Remember, I'm not putting the whole 15 right here. No. 5, and then we regroup the 1. And we continue with the same process, moving on to the next diagonal cell. Thinking again, can I make 10 or doubles? I see both. Do you see the 10? Do you see the doubles in this diagonal row? 8 plus 2 make 10. And 1 plus 2 is a double that makes 2. So together that makes 12. Once again, we are not putting the whole number 12 right there. Regrouping. I'm not going over regrouping because by this time, if you're doing this, you should know. And if you need that, you can always contact me for a tutorial. And I'll do one for you. Or you can Google it on your own or ask your teacher or your parent or look back in your notes. Now let's continue with this last diagonal part of this cell. Now just like over here with this ending cell or this ending diagonal or this last diagonal, remember you're only adding what's inside the diagonal and the regrouping box is inside the diagonal. So we do include that with the adding. So now we're going to add 1 plus 0, which will give us 1. So now the reason why I did this particular lesson this way is for a few reasons. One is because I'm about to show you where to place your decimal for your response for your product. But then I'm also showing you that if the decimals were not here, and if this was the number 463 times 27, this would be your answer, which is what I'm about to show you. Okay, so I'm going to do the decimal first, but I will also show you that if it wasn't the decimal, then your answer would be 12501, which means you're taking these numbers that you inputted going to the left, you're going back down and around and writing them down. When you do that, you need to make sure you put your comma. Remember, there's an imaginary decimal at the end of every whole number. And then 1, 2, 3, comma, or ones, tens, hundreds, comma. So if this was just a regular multiply 3 by 2 or 2 by 3, this will be the answer. But it is not. So I'm going to delete that to show you what you're going to do to get the decimal answer. Are you ready? Okay, because this is the most important part. You're going to go to your shapes. You're going to go to your line. You're going to click on red, right there. And you're going to think about a few things. You want to make this a stroke thickness of 4, maybe. You can still maybe try 6. It may be too large. 4 is just enough, I believe, for what we're going to do. So you see these 2 decimals that are here? I want you to think of them as some friends that saw each other across the yard before the pandemic, where you can go and meet up and play. So right now, it looks like how it would be after the pandemic or during the pandemic. If you're at school, you have to be 6 feet apart. But now the pandemic is over. Yay! And now you guys can play together and you can play with equipment together. So now you can say, oh, there's my friend. Let's go meet up and play. And what's going to happen is, just like a coordinate grid, when you're doing the X and Y coordinates with graphing, you would do the same here. Make sure it's red for our Learning Genie 3D. You're going to meet up. Hey, friend. What's up, buddy? Give me some tap, because now we can tap. They met up. And now they're going to go play together. What they're going to go play, I don't know. But this is the area that they're going to go play in the product area. And then bam. What you're going to do is put your decimal there. Go back to your drawing, make it red or black, and plop your decimal right there. Because now they're together and they're playing. They met up together and now they're in the same play area. Okay? Or if you're older and you're in an older population and you are thinking about, okay, well, how did my parents meet? Or maybe there's somebody that I like across the room. Or there's people that you know. This is how they met. There goes my baby. Okay? You think about the song. They saw each other from across the room or across the playground. or across the park or the grocery store, wherever. Then they met, hooked up, and started to go out and date. One day, they may have gotten married, and this is where they had their wedding. There's many ways you can think of it. So, with that being said, I'll continue now that I've gone off on a tangent. And this is where you would put your answer if you're using this document, just for the purpose of teaching and pulling out the answer. So the answer to this problem, 125.01. You can make it larger, just so you can see that is our final product. And what I like to do with the 3D learning process, with this color coding process, is the product markup will be in purple. And there we go. And that is the answer to this problem. So you always want to make sure you go back and double check. 3 times 2, 2 times 3, 6. 6 times 2, 2 times 6, 12. 2 times 4, 8. 7 times 3, 21. 7 times 6, 42. 7 times 4, 28. Let's see, we add 1 plus 0, 1. Remember, we don't touch anything on the outside in the green because that is not a part of what we're going to use when we add. I apologize for my throat being dry. We'll continue adding. We made doubles, or we made 10. 6 plus 2 and 2 is 10. 0. We regrouped that 1. We added everything in this diagonal cell that was in the blue and the orange, plus what was in the regrouping box. That gave us 15. Let's double check our math. 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 4 plus 1 is 5. That gives us 15. We regroup the 1. We'll go back to the next diagonal cell. Only the orange and the blue and what's in the diagonal, not the green. Can we make 10? Can we make doubles? We can do both, 10 and doubles. 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 1 and 1 is a double. That makes 12. We regroup the 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. That's the only thing in this diagonal part of this cell. We're not using the 4. And that gives us 1. We put it all together after we have the 2 decimal buddies meet, or the 2 people that decided to date. They meet, they go play in this play area, or they start dating, and they decide to get married and have a wedding here. Whichever way you want to think about it, or as a teacher, whichever way you'd like to teach that part of this particular process of the decimals meeting and sliding. Or you can do a slide, okay? Like the cha-cha slide. And you can think of it as the decimal slide. Right? Everybody know this song. Okay. Okay. Clap, 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 clap your hands. Clap, 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 clap your hands. It may not be to the left, to the right, one hop, however you want to go. But it's the slide. So there's many ways you can play on it, but that is the particular process. And your answer is 125 and 0 hundredths. Now, this lesson can continue further, which I have a video of that, where you can talk about and extend this lesson and write this particular number in word form and write it in expanded notation form as well, just to get a spiral review and to see what students remember with that concept, since that will also be something that they will need to know when they're assessed on their assessments for standardized testing. I hope that this lesson has been one of service and help to you and aid to you. If you're an educator, this is a color copy, and then you have the student copy as well. So when you purchase, you will get both. You will also get the student work sample copy if you would like to be able to have multiple students give their or be able to do multiple problems on one page. That document is also available, and there will be a video for that as well. Once again, my name is Jackie Lynn. I apologize for this video's voice being throaty. I've been doing a lot of teaching and a lot of videos lately, so excuse me for the hoarseness of the voice, but I wanted to make sure that this video was out for those who are purchasing this document on my Teacher Pay Teacher store, the Learning Genie store. And if you wanted to know how to use this document, this video is here for free. And there you go. Thank you very much for watching.